Prepare yourself for Earthling Entertainment with your hosts, Joe and Ryan.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Earthling Entertainment with Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
I'm Joe Wakefield.
I'm Ryan Lang.
Hey guys, what we do here, for those of us joining us for the first time, is a little bit of the spooky, a little bit of the creepy. Sometimes it's cryptozoology, or a haunting, or alternate dimensions, or a legend, or a myth, or a curse. And then we have a segment called Ryan's Disclosure Discussion. That one's all about aliens.
I'm just asking questions. What is the government released? What are we asking of them? Any UFO stories, sightings, photos, videos? That's what we talk about.
That's right. And then the latter half of the episode is dedicated to the entertainment industry. Sometimes it's news. Sometimes we do a little trivia game. We might have a celebrity interview. We discuss celebrities' deaths. Sometimes we have a thing called, Music Mumbles, which
That's
is
right.
all music news. But the point is, it's entertainment. And that two things together, the spooky and the entertainment put together, make Earthling Entertainment. That's our show, and welcome.
Welcome indeed, and thank you for listening, and thanks for all the downloads. It really helps us out.
Oh, yeah. Downloading the episodes wherever you listen to the podcast is the best way to support us. So if you like what you hear, please do that.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
So, I bought, because it came out digitally. And yes, I know it's on Netflix. You don't have to tell me. I like owning things. I bought Godzilla -1.
Yes, I actually ended up watching it last night.
Yeah, it's an Oscar winner, Ryan.
It was for
Visual effects.
that was it. Thank you.
That's
And
What'd you think?
I thought it was a Godzilla movie. It was the most Godzilla movie since Godzilla. That's the best way I could put it. Since the original.
Okay, because like the 1954 Godzilla. Because I was like,
Yes.
since the 1998 Matthew Broderick Godzilla, Ryan?
It's such a shame that movie was a thing. They pumped it so hard too. Like every place had like Godzilla merch.
Dude, I remember it was like Taco Bell and Burger King. It was,
Yeah.
and I can't lie, I loved that as a kid. I loved it, but I wasn't like super into Godzilla stuff at the time. That was like one of my first, like I knew who he was in the Japanese, stories and movies, but I was not watching those movies. So when that 1998 Godzilla movie came out, I was all about it. I mean, gosh darn, man, I would have been 11.
And Puff Daddy collabed with the guy from Led Zeppelin to do a weird song.
I don't remember that song, but it sounds magical.
Come with me. Come with me. I remember it.
Well,
now,
anyways.
now knowing what's going on with P. Diddy now, those lyrics mean a whole lot of different things.
Well, no, because he wouldn't ask.
That's true.
Ooh, creepy. But we're not getting into that. Anyways.
That's the true horror.
Oh, but this new Godzilla movie was really good. I watched the subtitle one. I don't know if there's a dub one out there, but I don't know. You don't get the same performance out of the dub stuff.
I agree. I watched it dubbed and I didn't really I didn't know there was an option.
Well, the issue is if you listen to it dubbed, you could enjoy the movie more because you could watch the visual effects. But if you read it with the subtitles, you could enjoy the movie more because you understand like what is being said better, because sometimes dub performances aren't very good. So it's like, watch it in both ways, and some people just straight up don't want to read. And if that's the case, yeah, I guess the dub one's fine.
I was just talking to a coworker about it because he saw me watching it and he was like, "Oh, I just watched it." And I was like, "Yeah, and I even mentioned it. I'm like, I kind of wish they had the one that wasn't dubbed on there." And he was like, "Why?" He's like, "I don't want to read when I'm watching a movie." I'm like, I honestly always have captions on. I don't have the best hearing, so I always have captions on anyway, usually when I'm watching something.
Sure. Well, I bought it digitally, so mine comes in the original language subtitle.
Nice. And that's honestly how I would probably prefer to watch it. That's like how I watch Squid Games. So I've watched a lot of foreign films and stuff. I don't mind it.
Fair enough. You know what? Pan's Labyrinth. I've only seen. I don't know if there is a dub version. I've only seen that a subtitle film.
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a great film.
Well, there's just a lot of movies out there that people don't give the chance to simply because they don't want to bother dealing with it. And I do. Okay, if you don't want to because you think it takes away from watching a film, I get that. Or if you're a multitasker, right? Like if you're doing dishes or something, you can't really do that because you're not really going to understand what's going on.
And
So-
that's true. It made it easier to, do my job and watch the movie. Kind of I could hear it. I could hear what was going on.
Fair enough. Well, anyways, that is our recommendation of the week. If you guys want to see a good movie and you give a crap about kaiju or Godzilla in general, watch it. If you want to see the subtitled one, I would rent it on VOD. That's because it seems like that's the main one. And if you want to watch it on Netflix, they have the dub version. So everybody wins.
It was really good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a fun watch.
Awesome. And you know what? Creatures like that, what would you call that? What would you call a kaiju? It's its own thing because they're always just giant monsters. And it's kind of funny because it's like Godzilla. Some people are like, it's a dinosaur. Some people are like, it's a mutant. I don't know.
I always thought wasn't that the whole thing was after the Hiroshima bomb, after like the atomic bomb, is that it was like the radiation
That made it.
mutated, a creature and created Godzilla, and now it's basically, it's our own fault.
Yes, no, originally. But then the new movies are saying that they're titans that were asleep and here before and woken up by radiation, right?
Right. And by like the call of by being a titan, one has to come and fight you. Like there's like a weird innate thing they have to do. Like there can be only one kind of thing.
True, but those are the United States movies versus the Toho films in Japan, and we could assume they don't have the same continuity.
Right. With King Kong in like the center of the earth where it's all hollow.
You know what? But the Japanese ones got weird. They had people from different dimensions and different planets. Like there was planet kaijus that were like they were sending down to get in the monsters fight. There's all this kind of weird stuff. Speaking of weird stuff, this week's spooky stuff, we figured we'd do a classic. Why not the personification of death? I mean, this is our 40th episode.
It is. And you know what, Joe? Before we jump into it being our 40th episode, we wanted to do a kind of a new look for the podcast. So we actually got a new logo we're going to be putting out today, and we would love to hear what you guys think about it.
Absolutely. You probably have seen it if you're listening to this episode because we're using it.
Yep. And we're hoping to make some stickers, maybe even some shirts, a hat. I don't know. We're thinking of stuff.
Merch is on the way. I tell you what, I'll give you one word. Coasters. Easy to make, man. And you know what? Playing cards.
I agree with that.
I'm just saying we got ideas. The ideas are flowing. So Earthling Entertainment, 40th episode. We're only moving forward. We're advancing. Things are getting sharper. Things are getting cleaner. We have some very exciting things coming down the pipeline.
Very much so. And we couldn't have done it without everybody who supports us and listens to us. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. I'm happy and blown away by how many people are out there, tuning in every week. So thank you again. And here we are with our first segment. I assume the reason why a lot of you listen to the show, with a little thing we like to call spooky stuff.
The Grim Reaper is the Lord of Death, a black, shrouded specter who appears when your time on Earth has come to an end. Although his personality and his work are as mysterious as death itself, one thing is for certain, he's not someone you want to meet anytime soon.
Fair enough.
Unlike earlier personifications of death, the Grim Reaper has a ghoulish appearance that has made him a favorite Halloween costume for generations. The Reaper's look starts with a long, black cloak. The cloak wraps all the way around the specter's body and shrouds his face beneath a deep hood. It is usually loose and tattered, so that bits of black flutter in the wind as the Reaper moves.
Ooh, whether you're a king or a dirty street sweeper, sooner or later you dance with the Reaper.
See?
All right. I will call that contributed. Thanks, Ryan.
Señor Muerte.
Oh, my God.
In his hand, the Reaper carries a scythe, a long pole with a curved blade fixed to the top. The scythe is traditionally used to harvest crops at the end of fall. In the Reaper's case, it is used to harvest souls at the end of life. The specter might also carry an hourglass, which he uses to measure the amount of time left in a life. Finally, he may travel on the back of a ghostly white horse.
I'm sorry. I'm imagining this this hourglass, right? And there's just like a dial on the top that you rotate, but it's more of like an old 1970s TV dial, and it's just got names. He's like, okay, gotta go to Frank. Hold on. You got about a week and a half, Frank. All right, let's go to Barry. And on the bottom would have to have surnames.
He's going to have to upgrade to some digital stuff.
Okay.
That's a little bit too much.
I don't know, man. That's how I imagined it.
Like he got like a Rolodex going. Like,
Yeah,
like what the...
Listen, they have yet to update my system. I don't know what to tell you. Death is not high on the radar of the universe.
Still trying to figure out new shit, even though people die every day, all the time.
We have a back catalog. All you people are in a waiting room for at least 1,000 years.
Santa Claus gets way too much credit. Fucking the Grim Reaper is hustling. Like, just saying.
Death.
Finally, yeah, he travels in the back of a pale white horse or a chariot pulled by white horses.
That's kind of less impressive. Like, if Death shows up in a chariot, it'd be like, ooh, la-di-da, Mr. Gonna kill me, can't even walk.
Oh, my time has come.
Eventually. Hold on.
The seasons don't fear the reaper. To the wind, the sun, and the rain. I'm sorry, I needed the cowbell.
I'm aware of what you were doing.
Okay.
I just figured we need more cowbell, which is really what you wanted from me. It was too easy.
I have a fever.
I was
only prescription is more cowbell.
More cowbell.
Yes, the Bruce Dickinson. Very few people have glimpsed the figure beneath the black cloak and lived to tell the tale.
Well, I don't think anyone's seen Death and lived, right?
Right.
If you have a near-death, that'd be funny if someone had a near-death experience. They're like, no, dude, I straight up saw this fucker show up with a cloak and a scythe, like fucking Death. He showed up, and then he was like,
he was just,
I'll come back later.
He was just standing in the corner staring at this hourglass, tapping his fucking bony foot. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah. But luckily it was set to Bill, not Dill, so I was okay.
They're just like, oh, God damn it. He's just like,
Bill next door.
Better Bill than me. Most legends paint the Reaper as a skeleton, white bones, and an empty skull. But few claim that nothing but a dark void lurks beneath the cloak.
Some claim.
The Grim Reaper's appearance might send a chill down your spine, but he's not as evil as he looks. Above all else, the Reaper is a hard worker. That's what I said.
Just doing his job, bro.
Yeah. His job is to collect souls when they reach the end of their time on Earth, and he is extremely diligent about getting his work done. He always meets his deadlines, and he is rarely distracted from or persuaded not to do his job.
He does need 10 minutes to do a TikTok dance at every hour, though.
They come for the dances. Some people...
That was a reference to our own movie.
That's right, and I will make it forever. Some people might think that the Reaper, like an assassin, is despicable because he ends lives without so much as a flinch. But there is an important difference. Assassins kill people without caring about their fate. The Reaper kills people because it is their fate to die. In many ways, his work is beneficial. He ends suffering for people who are old or sick, and he prevents overpopulation. That just seems like a bit of a stretch. Like some dictator would say that shit. Hey.
Also, he is not preventing overpopulation. There are far too many people in the world.
There are way too many humans.
Like, I do realize that there are some parts of the world where there's nobody, and there are other parts of the world where there are a lot of people compact. But still, if you spread us out evenly, like, it's almost unsustainable with how much food and gas and everything we consume. It's horrifying. If you start thinking about that, I literally get like the sweats and stay up at night. Like, oh my God.
Be careful.
Like, just the amount of garbage we produce each year and how much that could fill the Grand Canyon, and like, it's like
you're starting to tiptoe on the one guy that wanted to read in the Twilight Zone, where you just wish that all people would go away. And then people do go away. And then he breaks his glasses and he can't read anymore.
I don't think okay, look, this is going to sound fucked up, but Thanos was right. No, seriously, if there was just less people, things would have been better. And I wrote there's a Tattertale, our first Tattertale we do, which is also a podcast. If you want to look it up, it's called Four Levers. Is about the alien race who gets this girl as a representative of humanity, and she has to choose one of four options that will save the human race due to what we're doing to the planet, whether it be overpopulation or polluting or what have you. And yeah, it's a pretty good one. You should check it out. But the point is, man, that's a whole heart attack. So, death. If you're controlling overpopulation, do better. Kill more.
You heard that from Dictator Joe.
Yes, never mind. Now that I say it out loud, you probably
more
should.
people should die.
No, more people should just not be here.
Well,
Let's
I
zap
have
them
a-
into another dimension where there's nobody, and then they can have their own planet.
Death standing over here like that's a different department. You need to talk to Cupid. It's that asshole's fault.
I don't know.
And the stork starts shooting him down.
Oh my God.
Pull!
Oh my God, what if the people who are born and they're just straight up, normal people, but they don't feel like having kids. They don't want kids. Like, though, that is their choice. What if more and more people were born thinking like that, as just like the species evolving as like, there's too many of us. We need to weed it out. So some people are straight up born without the desire to procreate. That's an interesting like sci-fi book that I feel like would come out in the 70s or something.
I feel like you're onto something there.
I'm just saying, weird thoughts.
Because it's true. We all do think that. Like, and that's why it's like such a weird opinion when we hear these rich people being like, actually, we have a population problem in that we don't have enough. Like, we've got rich people saying, oh, we need more people. And it's like, what are you talking about?
I don't know if it's rich people exclusively. I just think people thinking we need more people. If you're talking about colonizing space, I agree with you. Because one asteroid, we're all dead. There's no more humans. So
I'm cool with that becoming interplanetary.
But if we're only on this planet, too many people.
yeah. It's like traffic is just terrible.
Anyways, back to the personification of death himself, the Grim Reaper.
The Grim Reaper. He has an important job and special skills to match. His signature and most mysterious skill is the ability to separate souls from the body. Most stories claim...
He just does that every time. He just grabs him by the collar. Yoink!
I'm sure when The Simpsons were popular, he was doing that. Just because, whatever, pop culture, right?
Yeah.
Try to lighten it up a bit. It's like, I'm not ready to die. Too bad. Yoink! Most stories claim that the mere presence of the specter will begin to draw the soul from the body. Like, oh, look, it's the Grim Reaper. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's like it's a weird little vacuum. You're like, shit.
No. With the crook of one bony finger, he can break your bonds to the living world forever.
So hopefully you don't piss off death.
After the Reaper has collected your soul, he will serve as the psychopomp, I've never heard that before in my life. Psychopomp, a guide who helps you find your way into the next realm, like Caron.
Okay, cool.
A few stories describe heroes who have managed to trick the Grim Reaper or convince him not to take their souls. In some cases, the Reaper has even given people talismans that made them immortal. Personifications of death exist in all cultures throughout all of recorded history. Ancient people took a friendlier approach to death. For example, Thanatos, the Greek god of death, was an attractive and noble-hearted young man, and the Valkyrie...
Downright sexy, that guy.
He was hot. I died, but,
To be fair, everyone in Greek mythology is super hot. Like, do you see all those marble statues? Everybody's just, like, glistening.
They are just chiseled with tiny little penises.
I thought you were making, like, a sculpture joke.
I was, and then I had to throw in little penis.
Well, maybe the sculptor, like, just had a really small penis, and he was just like, this is what everyone's gonna think is normal, damn it!
It's like, are you gonna carve this? No? Well, then this is how it's gonna be. Okay?
This is normal size.
This is average. Average. But no, actually, fun.
I'm setting precedents.
Fun history fact, though. Actually, I believe the thought back then was that a bigger dong kind of meant that you were more primitive. They actually thought that the smaller the dong, the smarter the person.
I have never heard that. I'm not
I
saying.
have read that. I have read that.
Where have you read that? Was it Mad Magazine?
Right. That's why I'm so darn stupid.
I,
See?
I'm not.
Works in my favor.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't remember. I never heard that.
I read that somewhere. I don't know where.
The internet.
The internet.
The internet
It
teaches
was
me
there.
all.
I just don't even know why I put the stank on it. And the Valkyries, who decided which,
Yes, in Norse mythology, the Valkyries,
Yes,
who
which-
came down on a battlefield.
which Norse soldiers would die in battle, and they were beautiful and heroic women.
That's true. That's if I'm gonna die and I'm a Viking, that makes sense because like they would die, they go to Valhalla. It makes sense that their reward, right? Like you fought valiantly. Here's like the ultimate what you would consider attractive woman coming to take you up to Valhalla so you could like battle and then feast with Odin every night.
Like, yeah, you literally sit at the table with Odin, all your gods, all your forefathers who, were deserving, and you get to drink and eat forever.
I mean,
Sounds awesome.
It doesn't because the whole fighting every single day at night, like every day you battle and die in a war in some bloody way, and then when you wake up and you party, and then the next day you do it again. That's rough, man. Because like
Vikings are all about that shit.
I know, but I don't want to sound like a pussy, but that sounds like it would be awful. I don't want to be cut with a knife or a sword every day forever.
Like, ow.
Like, this is my reward? I get to watch my gut spill out of my stomach? Sweet.
Like, this is great.
Oh, it's okay. I'll get a beer later.
Okay. At least there's beer.
Oof. That is hardcore. I'm just saying.
I'm all for it, actually. I'll do it.
Ryan, how many fights have you gotten into?
Go on. Give us a number. The turning point in our attitude towards death came in. I'm just going to avoid that question.
I noticed.
Came in the 14th century when Europe was ravaged by the Black Plague. In some cities, as many as 1 in 5 people died from the plague. I thought it was more than that. Decaying bodies.
Well, to be fair, they said some cities, so you can't fact check them because as long as
Right.
that exists in at least 1 or 2.
Right, general enough that it works. Decaying bodies piled up in the streets, and everyone had loved ones to grieve.
Yeah, it was insane. The Black Plague. Whew.
Bring out your dead.
Yeah, the bell. They walk. Throw him
I'm
in the
not
cart.
dead. Oh, he says he's not dead. Oh, come on, he'll be stone dead in a minute. I feel fine.
Is that the Holy Grail?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's like,
Monty
I think
Python.
I'll go for a walk. Oh, come on, you're not fooling anybody. During the plague, artists began painting death as a horrific figure. Skeletons armed with deadly weapons dancing among plague victims in the street, or rode white horses with wagons full of bodies attached.
Tra-la-la-la-la.
Eventually, a black-cloaked figure, the first recognizable Reaper, began appearing at the head of these ghastly processions.
And has been tattooed on tough guys ever since.
I like it. I dig it. His dark costume and curved scythe may have been inspired by plague doctors who wore dark shrouds and bird-like masks to protect themselves from breathing infected air, which was totally not how it worked at all.
Well,
But
to be
that's
fair,
what they
they
thought.
had the right concept of wearing a mask to stop
Yeah.
airborne viruses. They just didn't do much. Like that long nose, they used to put like herbs and stuff
Yes.
that like to help with filter out in their mind or like smell.
That was back in the days, I believe it was called miasma or whatever. That was where they believed that bad smells got you sick. Which there's something to it.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny because you think about someone farting and everybody going like, "You bastard, you're gonna kill me!"
He's gonna kill us all.
Oh, this one's really bad. We're gonna be dead tomorrow.
This one's real bad. Oh, it's bad.
It's real bad.
Give me some paper towel.
It's super bad.
It's bad.
Uh,
The name Grim Reaper didn't appear until the 19th century,
for instance,
although the Grim was a popular nickname for death dating all the way back to the 13th century. For thousands of years, various cultures have had figures to represent death. One of the most common and enduring of these is the Grim Reaper, usually a skeletal figure who is often shrouded in a dark, hooded robe and carrying a scythe to reap human souls. But how and when did this imagery come to be associated with death? The Grim Reaper seems to have appeared in Europe during the 14th century. It was during this time that Europe was dealing with what was then the world's worst pandemic, the Black Death, believed to be the result of the plague. It is estimated that about 1/3 of Europe's entire population perished
Yeah,
as a
that
result.
sounds like a better estimate.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
As a result of the pandemic, with some areas of the continent suffering far greater losses than others, like you said. The original outbreak of the plague occurred during 1347 and 1351, and outbreaks then recurred several other times after that. So clearly, death was something that surviving Europeans had on their mind, and it's not surprising that they conjured an image to represent it. But why the skeletal figure? Why the scythe? Why the robe? Skeletons are symbolic of death, representing the human body after it has decayed. The robe is thought to be reminiscent of the robes that religious figures of the time wore when conducting funerary services.
Yeah, well, just religious figures of any religion are a little spooky to me.
Little bit
Maybe
of-
not. Maybe
little
not to
creepy.
everybody. I don't know.
Little creepy. The scythe is an apt image taken from agricultural practices of the time. Harvesters used scythes to reap or harvest crops that were ready to be plucked from earth, and, well, that's kind of what happens when humans die. They are plucked from this earth.
And then turned into corn chips.
Num 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 num. Grim Reaper potato chips. Num 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 num. Soul chips.
Yeah. Here's a weird thought. The Grim Reaper is just like in the grocery store, and we're just a bunch of like fruits and vegetables, man. And he takes them up to his godly people, and they make fucking guacamole out of human souls. Acid Thoughts, brought to you by Earthling Entertainment.
I mean, death's like your best friend, really. Like, you're given life only for a short amount of time, but death is forever.
Oh, that's sweet.
In Western culture, the Grim Reaper is often depicted as a skeletal creature wearing a black cloak and carrying a scythe. This image has become synonymous with death itself and is commonly used in various forms of media. The Grim Reaper is often portrayed as a malevolent force, harvesting souls without mercy. However, there are also depictions of the Grim Reaper as a neutral figure, simply carrying out his duty without malice. In Eastern cultures, the depiction of death is often different from that of Western cultures. In Japan, for example, death is often depicted as a female figure called the Shinigami.
The Shinigami.
The Shinigami is often portrayed as a beautiful woman with long hair who carries a scythe or a katana. In Korea, the Grim Reaper is known as Gyeosung Saja and is often depicted as a stern figure guiding souls to the afterlife.
I'd rather have the Japanese one. I don't know. If I'm dying and there is any kind of person or creature or whatever you want to call it that comes to usher me into the next world, if that's how it works, I would like someone who is good, doesn't look scary, like feels inviting, feels someone like you could be comfortable with. Whether you think it's because you're attracted to them or whether it's because you think you identify with like a mother or a loved one, whatever it is, it feels better to me to see a beautiful woman than it would be to be like, I don't know, an overweight fat man. I would be like, oh, really?
Why do
Frank, you're taking me?
Right.
Yeah, let's go. We're going to the next world. Come on. I mean,
maybe if you envision that, like maybe it like works like Contact, like the aliens, how they take like a form that's comfortable for you. Maybe death would do that. Like
that
maybe
would be so weird.
like
though,
what if it became like your dog?
But I know that would be fucking creepy if it became my dog.
Well,
My
think
dog
about
is like
it.
this, my tiny little dog, just like he would almost seem like the Taco Bell dog because he's just so small. Hey, we're going to the afterlife.
Like I don't know, some
No.
like that would be, I think that would be a cool way to go. Like if you're going and all of a sudden you see like the dog that died when you were a kid that you really loved. Like everybody had that one dog,
Okay, but I don't want it to talk to me. It could lead me to
Yeah, like no talk, and
like,
it would just be
come
your
on,
dog. Yeah.
Okay, then that would be sweet. All right,
That's what I'm
fair
saying. It
enough.
would jump up, run up to you, and you wouldn't even know you're dead. It would jump on your lap, and you'd be able to pet your dog again.
Well,
And then basically it would
you'd
jump down.
probably question why your dog was still alive or back alive.
Well, right, but I mean, it would be, it would definitely be freaky, but I think that would kind of help, like, the bewilderment of it all get you up, and then, he'd probably jump down and beckon you to follow him, and bam, there you go.
Fair enough.
That's the way I'd like to go.
No, I'm with you, but you're like, what if it just takes something from your mind? And my head went to, I watch a lot of pop culture. It could be anything. Like, just
fucking Burt Reynolds walks up. Hey, Joe, it's time to go.
Exactly. It's just like, Deadpool, you're going to take me to heaven? How strange.
I'm just as surprised as you are.
Exactly. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Anyways, Japanese death seems kind of cool. Makes sense that she has a sword.
Yes. Yeah, katana. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, makes sense.
Overall, the depiction of death varies greatly across different cultures. While the Grim Reaper is the most well-known figure in Western culture, other cultures have their own unique depictions of death. These depictions often reflect the cultural values and beliefs of the people who create them. Kind of like, in Mexico, they've got like the Lady of the Dead or whatever, basically like the big giant sombrero hat. She's got like the skull,
Sure,
face
I know nothing
paint.
about it, so yeah.
All right, yeah, well, like Day of the Dead, like all like the sugar skulls and stuff like that.
Yeah. I do. I haven't seen. I have definitely seen that imagery. Yes.
Yeah. Today, the Grim Reaper continues to lord over our imaginations. He has become the world's most iconic personification of death. Fantasy and horror novels regularly pay homage to the Grim Reaper. Films like Scream and Goblin have played off his dark look, while books like J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows and Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book have added new stories to the Reaper's long legend.
Yeah, in Harry Potter, it was the Grim Reaper who gave the Deathly Hallows the 3 presents to the witch brothers. Yeah.
And in Scrooged, he was the one who showed him all of his wrongdoings and how Christmas Future, the Ghost of Christmas Future was Grim Reaper.
I guess he was a Grim Reaper.
Totally.
Yeah, because he showed him his own tombstone.
And he was a scythe. He had the scythe. He had the skull face, like on the TV.
You know what? It was a very scary version of that. You're gonna laugh, but A Muppet Christmas Carol had a really scary Grim Reaper.
It was a scary Grim Reaper in that one.
Yeah, maybe it was because it was a puppet, so it was kind of like it wasn't so human shaped that it like really threw me, and because it was also a puppet, it was not like CGI fake. I don't know. Plus, I saw it when I was a kid.
What was the actor who played Scrooge in that? I forget.
Dude, it was Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, right? I love the one meme where it's like, okay, Michael Caine, you're going to be doing, this is a Christmas Carol. It's with Muppets. So, you don't have to go so crazy with it. You know what I'm saying? Michael Caine, quote, I'm going to play this as serious as a car accident.
Yeah. He does, though. It is the most earnest performance of any Scrooge you'll ever see.
It really is dead serious.
Like, well, I'm just saying, you would not know he was talking to a Muppet. He's like, no, this is my character talking to a man he worked with for 50 years.
A hell of an actor. He's a hell of an actor.
He was Alfred in 3 Batman movies.
And probably one of my favorite ones as well. Other than the one from the 90s, he was so good. The classic.
Also, he was in Jaws the Revenge.
He certainly was.
Jaws number 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jaws number 4.
That happened. Chopper 4.
Not as good as Chopper 3.
All right, so they're I forget their name. The something S brothers, the Skowalski brothers, or something like that. And there was 2 stand-up comedians, and they have a joke called, where they always are talking about how they advertise Chopper 4 so much.
I don't know why. I don't know why that stuck with us.
And we both know it, and we know it separately. Like,
there's gonna be like one person one day who's gonna hear our podcast, and they're gonna hear that reference, and they're gonna be like, I know that reference.
I saw that stand-up.
I saw that stand-up back in the early 2000s, back when Comedy Central would actually play stand-up here and there, and then they just would keep the rights to it, and they wouldn't release it.
We sound like the generation before us, where they're like, in our day, MTV played music videos. In our day, Comedy Central played stand-up specials.
They did.
They did.
But I heard they were real squirrely with it. Like, they would literally own all the rights to and they would probably maybe air it like a couple times, and then they were like, that's it. And then they would just put it away, and you couldn't have it back, and there you go.
I like Comedy Central.
I'm a fan of what they've done with South Park.
I like Comedy
but that they
Central.
let them do their thing. But I heard they didn't have much choice. The Grim Reaper has been.
Well, hold on. I could segue this. I love South Park. South Park is good. Did you see the one episode where the Grim Reaper was in it?
I did.
Huh. Anyways, segue.
Yeah, and he was going after Kenny the whole time.
Yeah, it makes sense. That character died every episode in the first 3 seasons. It was
You-
only 3 seasons, but it's so embedded in my head as Kenny dies every episode.
You bastard. Well, then they made it canon, spoiler alert, that he gets basically reborn again.
Yes, they did, but also they had this whole one where he actually died, and then his spirit was in Cartman, and then
That's right.
then there was a cult, and I don't know.
And there was a chicken. He was in a chicken.
There was a lot of.
There
weird
was a
stuff.
lot of things going on.
All right, so now you've ruined the segue. Anyways, Grim Reaper.
I'm good at that. Grim Reaper has been a popular character in literature for centuries. In many works, he is portrayed as a dark, hooded figure with a scythe, who comes to collect the souls of the dead. One of the most famous literary depictions of the Grim Reaper is in Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, where he's personified as a skeletal figure named Death. Death is a recurring character in the series and is often portrayed as having a dry wit and a fondness for cats.
Interesting. There's another fun thing: is Deadpool dates Death. Deadpool dates Death, and so does Thanos. Also dates Death, and Death is obviously a woman in the Marvel universe. And they both have this weird love triangle, and they're fighting over death with each other. It's really weird.
That is really weird. Never heard of that.
Yeah, Google that. That is hilarious.
All right. The Grim Reaper has also made frequent appearances in film and television. In the horror genre, he is often portrayed as a malevolent figure, stalking his victims and causing them to meet their untimely demise. One notable example of this is the Final Destination film series, where death is portrayed as an unseen force that is determined to claim the lives of those who have cheated it. In contrast, the Grim Reaper is often portrayed as a sympathetic character in other genres, such as in the animated series The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, where he is portrayed as a friendly, if somewhat bumbling, character who is forced to befriend 2 young children.
It's a pretty funny cartoon if you're gonna watch a kid's cartoon.
The Grim Reaper.
Yeah, I remember that. I like that show.
Yeah.
I mean, I was young when it came out.
I remember the pilot was
I was at
played
least
a lot.
a teenager.
I remember the pilot was played a lot when we were younger, and then they did the show.
Well, because the pilot was part of a different show. Like the pilot was, it was like a bunch of, I think it was like cartoon sushi or something.
Yeah.
And that was the same way that SpongeBob started. It was like a short in that weird cartoon thing, and then they picked up a few of them.
I remember that. Yep. The Grim Reaper has also made appearances in various video games, often as a boss character or a powerful enemy that the player must defeat. In the game Castlevania Symphony of the Night, the Grim Reaper is a recurring boss character who wields a giant scythe and can summon undead minions to aid him in battle. In the game The Sims, the Grim Reaper appears when a sim dies and is portrayed as a neutral character who simply collects the soul of the deceased and moves on. I'll mention another Grim Reaper video game reference in Conker's Bad Fur Day,
Yeah.
like the
For
R-rated
64, yeah.
video game for N64. When you die, you meet the Grim Reaper, and he's hilarious.
Oh, is he just like roast you?
He hates cats. He's like, just like friggin' cats. I hate those frickin' things, where they just piss all over the place, like little buggers.
And
And he's got like a weird British accent, and he's like, yeah, fine, here, take the tail. He's like, you frickin' squirrel. Like, he's just amazing. He's hilarious. And he makes a couple appearances in the game. I believe he's the one who gives you like the shotgun or whatever. He's amazing in it. It's hilarious. That game is a classic.
Yeah, I know the sequel didn't quite live up to it, but everyone talks about Conker's Bad Fur Day because it looks like a normal N64 game, but it is like it was rated M for mature, and so a lot of kids would were able to get it because their parents didn't know what it was because ratings weren't well known at the time, and it was dirty.
Lots of boobies and blood and dirty jokes. Lots of alcohol. Lots of alcohol throughout the whole game.
Conker was a drunk, right?
Yeah, he was a total drunk. That was the whole premise of the game. Was you were literally the whole day was a bad hangover.
Nice. Classic. So you have Dude, Where's My Car and The Hangover to thank for Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Thank you very much.
No, I mean, reverse that. You have Conquers Bad Fur Day to thank for the hangover. That joke didn't land. Continue.
Continuing! The Grim Reaper is a well-known mythical creature that has been depicted in various forms throughout history. While it may seem like a relic of the past, the Grim Reaper still holds relevance in modern times. Pop culture has helped to keep the Grim Reaper in the public consciousness and has ensured that it remains a recognizable figure. Another way in which the Grim Reaper remains relevant is through its symbolism. The Grim Reaper is
It's
often
called symbology.
symbology. What is the symbolism? The Grim Reaper is often used as a symbol of mortality, reminding people of the inevitability of death. This can be seen in various contexts such as art, literature, and even in advertising. Finally, the Grim Reaper remains relevant in certain religious and spiritual beliefs. In some cultures, the Grim Reaper is viewed as here's this weird term again, psychopomp, a being that guides souls into the afterlife. This belief is still held by some people today, particularly those who follow certain religious or spiritual traditions. And that's, like I said, where you put where Karen, who he ferries the spirits across the river. Some cultures still do coins in the eyes, and that is to pay for your ferry across the river.
Sure. That would be such a trivial thing that if you die, it's like, so no one put coins in your eyes? They get into heaven.
I mean, that's what they say, right? I think that's where you eventually go mad and you try to swim, and that's why all the souls are in the river of the dead, right? They're like the lost souls because they were never ferried across.
Yeah, that's depressing.
It is.
You get to heaven, there's like 14 guys, and that's it. They're like, oh shit.
There's a lot of depressing stuff in culture. Like in Mexican culture, they believe that if you don't have like a photo of your family on the wall in the afterlife, they like go to like a sad place of the forgotten.
Isn't that just Coco?
I believe that's like legit though. Like that's
because the only time I heard that was in Coco, but I haven't researched it, so I'm like, I have no idea.
I will go ahead and agree with Joe. I believe that my knowledge is from Coco. So take that with a grain of salt, if thou wilt.
All right.
Overall, well, the Grim Reaper base. Oh yeah, I already said that. Yeah, its symbolism and cultural significance ensure that it remains a recognizable figure even in today's world, and of course it does. And then I can also think of the band called Death. The symbol is a giant scythe that goes underneath the logo.
Oh, that's a way to use it. If your band is called Death, use the scythe. There you go. You guys are marketing geniuses.
Well, rest in peace, Chuck. He passed away a while back.
I take it back. All respect.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, they're still considered to be like one of the most like influential metal bands today. Period.
Oh yeah.
Still. Oh yeah.
Well, right on.
He was a big deal.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that was this week's spooky stuff, guys. We covered the personification of death. I don't know. Episode 40 seemed like the time to whip out the Grim Reaper. That's just how I felt. And if I want to give a little bit of how I feel, guys, the best Grim Reaper in pop culture is definitely Bill and Ted. So it's
that's right.
Yes,
yeah.
in the second film, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, we are introduced to the Grim Reaper character, and he even comes back in the third one. Bill and Ted Face the Music.
He does,
And
which was impressive.
Let me tell you, that is my favorite. What is your favorite version of death that you've seen? Cartoon, movie, video game, anything?
Gosh, I'm gonna have to say probably just in metal depictions. Like I've seen a billion
album covers.
Right, I've seen a million of them. Like I can't even pinpoint, but I mean, Death is classic.
Death is classic.
Oh, I can go ahead and mention my own band. We had like a Templar kind of guy who kind of looked like Death, but he had a red cloak and a sword instead. But he looked very Grim Reaper like.
And that was on your album, right?
That was for a single. That was our first single for The Knight's Oath.
The Knight's Oath. Check it out.
Yeah, that was a song about a Templar who was burned at the stake, as they were when they came back from the Crusades, because they were accused of idol worship, and they were basically the bank at the time. And
and everyone got pissed off because the king wanted the money. Yeah.
Well, the king owed them money, and so instead of paying him, he just accused them of idol worship and burned them all at the stake.
I think it was on Friday the 13th, and that was one of the curses of why Friday the 13th has.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that aspect.
There's a lot about that.
Damn, I could have wrote that into the song. Oh, well.
Anyways, Ryan, that's all right, because we've come to your segment, which is, of course, all about aliens, and we like to call it
Ryan's Disclosure Discussion. It's about aliens and stuff.
Ex-Pentagon former UAP task force member David Grusch. The U.S. has dead pilot bodies from extraterrestrial craft.
They got them. They're in the freezer out back.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised, Joe. And this isn't the first time that we've talked about David Grusch here on the podcast. He last year famously did a really big Q&A with the courts, like with the Supreme Court. It was a huge deal. It would have seemed improbable that someone with high credibility from the U.S. military would announce the existence of extraterrestrial crafts that are partially intact. David Charles Grusch, a former member of the UAP task force and a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, has alleged that for decades, the government, its allies, and defense contractors have been retrieving parts and whole vehicles linked to these extraterrestrial occurrences.
Yep, reverse technology. That's where we got Velcro, guys. Wake up! Your tennis shoes are alien technology.
They are.
Actually, I heard Velcro was from space. Just saying.
Yeah, Velcro is from space, and our phones.
Yeah, Velcro, and then that, advanced piece of technology. It was just a funny comparison.
Right.
Justification. I can't talk. Continue.
And then you could put Velcro on the back of your phone and Velcro it wherever you want.
That's like a hat on a hat.
Oh my God. We have imploded reality. Mr. Grusch has stated that examinations of these artifacts confirm their exotic origin and point to the involvement of non-human intelligence, which could be extraterrestrial or otherwise unidentified. His conclusions are drawn from the morphologies of the vehicles, tests on materials science, unique atomic configurations, and radiological signatures.
Yeah, so he broke this shit down to be like, this is why chemically I think I'm right.
And I believe he's literally said extraterrestrial biologics in the one interview I watched.
Yeah.
Simply put, Mr. Grusch asserts that the United States and its allies have secretly been retrieving both fragments and fully intact non-human objects for nearly 90 years. These items have undergone analysis, confirming their non-human origins. In a one-on-one discussion with investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, Grusch, aged 36 and an Air Force veteran, disclosed the secretive military program that purportedly, what the hell is that word? I have never heard this word before in my life. That purposefully discovered whole UFO wreckage. Throughout this interview, Mr. Grusch boldly...
That's all right, man. This isn't a spelling test. Don't worry
I know,
about it.
dude. Some words I'm like, why do these, like, they're just trying to sound intelligent. And obviously they're making me not sound intelligent. The real existence of UFOs and their alien origins. He declared UFOs exist. The U.S. government found quite a number of them, and they are indeed of non-human origin. Mr. Grusch discussed the classified nature of the program, revealing, for years, there have been whispers and rumors that the government had aircraft of non-human origin. He highlighted the secretive nature of the program, indicting that much of the information remains undisclosed to Congress and the public. Mr. Grusch detailed the recovery operations for what he termed spacecraft of non-human origin.
Spacecraft of non-human origin. That sounds like a really long but fun title for a 1950s film.
It does.
Yeah. You see the spaceships with the strings and everything like that?
Yeah.
I love it.
It would something that would be on Mystery Science Theater that they would just roast.
I mean, you got to do it that way. That's why when we did ours in Fuzz and Malloy, we did the Fuzz Malloy, which is episode 8, season 2, 2000 Fuzz, A Space Oddity. Yeah, in that one we did the spaceship, and I wanted it to look like the old model ones. I was like, let's just lean in. We can't afford to do the super high-tech stuff, so show us the strings.
I love it. A decision was made, and it was well done.
Thank you, sir. That's that's a quote for life, man. Show us the strings.
Show us the strings. Fuck it. So Grusch clarifies, these are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles. Call
Ones
it
without strings, guys. These are the real ones.
call it spacecraft, if you will. Non-human exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed. He also disclosed how his initial doubts were overturned after confidential discussions with current and former senior intelligence officials. He mentioned, they approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of whom I knew almost my whole career, that confided to me that they were part of a program.
Yeah, he's like, whoa, guys. They were telling me this stuff. I didn't go out asking about aliens. The guy showed up and said, let me tell you about these freaking aliens, all right?
Right. Mr. Grusch also touched upon the potential misinformation efforts regarding UFOs. He asserted there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral. Furthermore, naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots, he affirmed. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true. Mr. Grusch's credibility is reinforced by endorsements from several high-ranking individuals. However, in a counterstatement, the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARRO, refuted these claims.
Arrow.
Thank you. Stating that no verifiable evidence has been found to back the existence of past or present programs dealing with extraterrestrial materials. Well, of course they would.
Yeah. They're like, nope. Government has a quote. Nope.
Nope. Well, I'm sold. Journalist Max Moskowitz.
Yes, from like
Oh.
American Tail.
Ah, yeah.
He's the son of Fievel.
Bible.
All right, no disrespect to that guy. His last name just sounds like Moskowitz.
Max Moskowitz.
It's not Moskowitz.
That's how I'm saying it. From the Dutch website Revue, revealed that Mr. Grusch possesses documents signed by the Inspector General. These documents reportedly confirm that the retrieval of one UFO in U.S. custody, originally found in Sicily, Italy during World War II, and seized from Mussolini. Allegedly, in 1933, Mussolini was informed by his Secret Service of a crashed air vehicle initially suspected to be of German secret weapon, but later determined to be of unidentifiable origin, described as a bell-shaped craft about 10 meters in size. I've actually heard about that.
No, man, that's a different thing, man. The bell that the Nazis made, what if, because they said that one was time travel, what if that's the same bell as this one? Like, because that one disappeared. So what if it disappeared, went back like 10 years, and that's the one Mussolini found?
That's possible.
That's nuts. I don't know. That concept is fun. That blows my mind because they even called it was like Dumblocker or something. I don't know German, but it was the bell, and it was a bell-shaped thing, and then they had it in World War II, and it was supposedly like suspended in this Nazi base, and it disappeared, and it was supposed to be a time machine. It was like the Wunderwaffe, the wonder weapon. And what if that's the same one? It just went zapping 10 years earlier, ends up here in Italy. Mussolini finds it.
Du hast mich.
Okay, that was a Rammstein reference.
Okay, so the UFO remained under Mussolini's control until 1944, when it was seized by agents from the Office of Strategic Services. Mr. Grusch notes that this incident predates more famous events like Roswell, and mentions he was cleared to discuss it by the Department of Defense's Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review. Former ATIP director Lou Elizondo lent some credibility to this narrative, revealing he had encountered documents from Mussolini's office that he found compelling. He hinted at rumors that parts of the craft were transported to the U.S. after World War II. When questioned about the origins of the object, Mr. Grusch posited that it might be extraterrestrial or from other dimensions, as suggested by quantum mechanics.
Yeah, because he was he clarified, like he said they were non-human vehicles. He didn't say spaceships. He was like quote unquote spaceships, but what he said was non-human vehicles. So maybe they do just go phasing to different dimensions.
That's a possibility.
That's a fun one. Come on.
I
Come on,
agree.
go with me, Ryan.
No, I like
Take
that.
my hand. Come with me on the sci-fi journey, you son of a bitch.
I'm here for it, buddy. Let's hop in that phone booth.
Well done.
Mr. Grusch posited, that might be extraterrestrial, as suggested by quantum mechanics. He acknowledged the lack of sufficient data to conclusively pinpoint their origins and expressed his belief that the U.S. government holds more detailed information on this topic. Duh. Regarding his personal safety, Grusch acknowledges having received threats and discusses the dangers associated with either maintaining his anonymity or stepping into the public spotlight. Despite these dangers, he feels it's crucial to promote awareness and seek answers from elected officials and the president.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I still like my story because if that's the same spaceship and it was a time machine, the Bell, and then we got it from Mussolini, then we could have been reverse engineering this forever. And it's like for the last 100 years, I mean, we went from the steam locomotive to being on the moon in like less than 100 years.
Right.
So you're gonna tell me that if we didn't have some kind of crazy technology that we were figuring out, then what? We just had a jump in human evolution or intelligence or something. I don't know. I believe the whole time machine aspect would be a fun way to do that. And from a storytelling standpoint is all I'm saying.
And it's interesting because I was just looking at the document here and all the different things we've got, and even Mussolini, there's evidence that he was trying to silence witnesses and saying it's all top secret. So before we even caught wind of it, he was even trying to cover it up.
Well, because it's like like they probably see it and it's apparent that it's like this will change the world. This is a thing. I am an ant who just found a handgun. You know what I mean? Like this will change the culture, the world forever. We must hide it.
I'm just imagining just this handgun being held by like a little ant.
They can lift up 5,000 times their body weight, Ryan.
Don't shoot.
You just think about it like a cartoon, though. Like the little cowboy guns that the women had, like in their garter.
Yes.
Now imagine an ant holding it. More feasible, right?
Yeah. Don't move a muscle.
I'd be like, oh shit!
Dude,
where do you think an ant's gonna aim? That's right. You better watch it. You better listen, Ryan.
I'm just saying, man. It's like ant problems have become way worse. Like, man, ants have gone real bad, dude. They're all holding Glocks now.
My name is Auntie McAntant. You raided my father.
You left out an ant motel. Prepare to die.
Yes. Oh my God. How do we get to talk about the ants?
I don't know.
All right. Fair enough. Well, I guess that's it for Ryan's disclosure discussion.
That is it.
Mussolini found the bell from World War II. That is my theory here.
And we came and just took it.
Yeah.
Like we always do.
It does. There's a lot of stories, let's be honest, where the U.S. government is like, hey, we're taking this alien crap.
America, fuck yeah.
And then the other country's like, no. And we're like, no, we're going to. And then there's a phone call and they're like, just give it to them. And you're like, God damn, what backwards deals we're giving away spaceships now? Jesus. All right.
And really, everybody's just fucking with us. They just built it. They're just like, oh man, this crash landed.
I like the idea and the theory, and it's probably not true, but it would be really cool if it was, and maybe it is, that we've already backwards figured out like all this technology, and there literally are maybe not Star Trek, but like, our version of sci-fi 100-year in the future version spaceships where like there are like people on there and they have bases on the moon and on Mars, and this is all U.S. government and not just U.S. government, but the whole world government. Everybody would have to keep this under wraps. I mean, because it's not like one country could know about it. Can you imagine like one small island who's like, no, really, there's a whole base. And they're like, we're not listening to you. You tiny little island.
I have a feeling we won't see this technology until the old martial law red button is pushed. We won't see all this technology until they use it to control the people.
That's not true. If aliens come, we're going to suddenly pull out whatever we got to fight them.
That's true.
Because if any species can get to us before we can get to them, then they have better technology. So if they don't like us, we're in trouble.
We certainly are, Joe. We certainly are.
Aliens. It's fun to think about. It is scary, though, because I always think about the Native Americans when the Europeans came, right? The Europeans came and kind of were like, took the land and killed the people. And it's just like, there's a lot of resources on this planet. If the aliens are like us, if they're, carbon-based life forms that drink water and breathe oxygen, our planet might look like a really nice thing to take for themselves.
It never bodes well for the dwellers when the big advanced people come. It usually doesn't go well.
No, it doesn't. But on the bright side, I guarantee the world would stop being so racist because they wouldn't give a shit about fighting each other. At least we're all human, right?
Right. And we were talking about that before, where we had a president that even said that
I think it was Reagan.
Yeah, in a fucking speech, he even says it, where he's like, maybe if we had to deal with an enemy.
Not an exact quote, of course.
Yeah, I'm butchering it, but he basically said, like, what if we all had like some kind of adversary from outside our world? Maybe we could all come together as one.
Well,
the whole world, which
unless they're from an alternate dimension, how does that work? Right? They just start phasing here, and they're just everywhere, always, all the time. It'd be like a situation where there's suddenly, like a Thanos snap situation. Suddenly, there's just double the amount of population, but they're just aliens and they're just here.
Oh man,
how do you deal with that?
Like the Nihil that with all the paths in the High Republic. I've been listening to the book, preparing because it's tonight. The Acolyte.
The Acolyte is tonight, and we'll definitely be talking about that. But anyways, actually, you know what? That's a great segue. Why don't we,
Because it's going to be 2 episodes. It's going to be tonight at 6 p.m. on Disney Plus, and it takes place.
It's not a good segue.
Well, I'm just saying it is a good one because we forgot to talk about it.
Continue.
But yeah, it's going to be 2 episodes tonight at 6 p.m. Disney Plus. The Acolyte takes place during what is known as like the High Republic series, the comic books and books.
Yeah, it was a publishing initiative Lucas started a while back. They have many novels, all young adult, child, and adult books, and they also have comics and a bunch of other things like that. And the High Republic takes place 200 years before the Skywalker saga, and it is what's considered the Knights of the Round Table kind of era. You know what I mean? Like it's the pinnacle of the Jedi, like being at their coolest as far as the Jedi values are concerned.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. It's because it's obviously it's new Star Wars, so I'm already here for it. I saw that the Trinity from The Matrix, the actress is going to be in it.
She is going to be in it, and yeah. Venestra Rowe is a character from the High Republic that'll be in it, and in this series she looks like an adult, and in the High Republic books she is 16 years old. So this Acolyte definitely takes place, I assume, after the skirmish with the Nihil. I don't know if we'll actually see Nihil in this show. Nihil are the main villain in the publishing initiative. They're like space Vikings.
Right. And yeah, that's why it kind of reminded me with like, yeah, the paths and stuff. They could just appear out of nowhere, like talking about like interdimensional stuff. Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. And you know what? All this weird kind of different dimensions and alien stuff. Let's talk a little bit about space. Let's have a space talk. We're gonna do a new segment, right? It's gonna be called Space Stuff. But first,
Earthling Entertainment special report. It looks like Chris Hemsworth is in talks to helm the new G.I. Joe Transformers film, the one they teased in the last Transformers movie. I'm not sure who asked for this, but, there it is. It's gonna happen, and he was probably gonna star in it. And this has been a Earthling Entertainment special report.
Space stuff! Space stuff! This is space stuff.
Huzzah.
China's Chang'e 6 probe lands on the far side of the moon. The probe captured footage as it made its approach to the mysterious far side of the moon on Sunday, June 2nd of this year.
That's my mom's birthday. That doesn't mean anything. I'm just telling you.
That's still pretty cool. Happy birthday, and we landed on the moon.
Yes. Yay, China for
Well,
this.
unmanned.
For this in particular.
Right, unmanned, but still did it.
Hey, they're gonna find the aliens, man.
If they're there, China probably will find them.
Hey, did you see the movie where they land on the moon and there was like giant spiders?
Yes, I did. And like all the rocks kind of like came alive.
Yeah.
That was Apollo
18, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was
Good film.
It was kind of a B film, but man, it was good.
Yeah, I really liked it. Just saying.
I loved that.
It was found footage, so if you don't like found footage movies, I wouldn't recommend that one, but I thought it was fun.
Remember the one commercial for baked beans where like the
What?
monster? Yes, there and it was literally a commercial for baked beans, and you don't even know it because it's just a bunch of astronauts on the moon doing their thing. Then all of a sudden, this monster comes out, like this crazy monster comes out and like starts like killing all of them one by one, and then it shows them like standing there like looking around. The monster's looking around. And this shows one living astronaut hiding behind a big rock. And then he farts. And the fucking monster like
Like he knows where he is.
Yes.
Does he get killed?
I think it cut off.
Oh no!
Right there,
And it was a baked bean commercial.
Yes.
That is fantastic. I have no memory of that.
I'm gonna have to find that.
That
for
has to be the single most greatest marketing campaign I have ever heard in my entire life.
It captivated me.
I mean, you think about it, there's just some kid right out of film school and he's like, all right, I'm going to take you on a fucking journey. Here we go. Bush baked beans, strap in. Anyways, back to China landing on the dark side of the moon.
Yes. China's lunar sample collection mission Chang 6 has
Chang 6.
Chang 6.
Chopper 5.
Chopper 5, better than Chopper 4. Has made history by successfully touching down on the far side of the moon, and it even sent back a stunning video of its landing. I did get to watch that, did you?
I did. It was actually really cool. I mean, there's nothing really to report. It landed and it looked cool.
It was fast.
It was.
Like in that last second, it was just like,
Yeah,
like it's amazing it didn't just smash. Like they know what they're doing.
True, but we're also, in the United States. So if anything went wrong at all, they were probably like, nope, that's the way it was supposed to land. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure there was a few people like a little tense at that moment, but
but they did. They successfully landed on the dark side of the moon.
From what I read, yeah, like a new 3D scanning technology, because once something's on the dark side of the moon,
it's very dark.
No, it's not dark. It's just we can't control it anymore. It like cuts off any kind of remote.
Yes, the
control.
signal can't go through the moon. So
Right.
it's what? I assume it's bouncing off satellites or something?
Either that or it basically is a robot of sorts that probably is pre-programmed for certain things. It probably has been, tested for all of these kind of things.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's what makes it so amazing to me, is like that's why we haven't really been able to do this, and that's why I think this is a really big deal, because it's the technology hasn't been there, because once we get on the far side of the moon, we lose control. So we've always had remote control when it came to unmanned. So
Yeah, well, they did it. So, yeah, that's awesome. Way to go, China, on this one thing.
yes, on this thing in particular.
Yes, just to be clear. No.
The video footage was filmed by Chang 6 lander's landing camera. It shows the spacecraft's close approach to the lunar surface as well as its touchdown. The video shows a region of the moon that humanity never gets to see from Earth. That's because the moon is tidally locked, meaning one of the lunar hemispheres perpetually faces our planet while the other faces away into space.
It never turns around.
Yes,
Yes,
it does not
it
do
knows what its good side is, and it's getting photoed from Earth, and it's like, bitch, I ain't showing you my bad side. Always to the left. Always to the left.
I believe Pluto and its moon are tidally locked together. So literally, itself and its moon always face the same way at itself.
That's
and
interesting.
They just pivot.
I think there was something about like Neptune and Pluto like passing a moon back and forth. Like they get so close in their orbit that a moon passes back and forth. I vaguely remember hearing something about that, but I have to look it up because I got to be 100% honest. Do not have my facts. That was like 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I have no idea on that one, but I mean, it seems feasible.
Everything is feasible because this is science or science fiction, which is only science that has yet to happen. Cylons are real. All right, continue.
Joe's got his finger on the pulse right here.
Yes.
on the
I don't
pulse.
confuse pop culture with reality. It's okay.
We both do, Joe.
I gotta call my therapist.
We all do. We all do, actually. You call your therapists. If you're listening to this podcast, call your therapist. Okay.
And that brings us to our sponsor, Ready Help. No, I'm
No,
kidding.
yeah, right. We wish. No, not really. But
Why?
kinda.
No, I would take a sponsor. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't understand. I would vet who it is. I wouldn't just be like, "Hey, you guys have herpes. Here's the best cream." I would vet a little bit, but yeah, I'll take a random sponsor.
Brought to you by Toilet Scrubbers.
Oh yeah, the ones with the blue bristles.
And they smile back.
What?
Like the little smiley face scrubby
Oh,
brush.
so
What was it? The scrub daddy.
So in this hypothetical sponsor that we're totally gonna get, it is toilet brushes that are kind of puppeteer head thing. I'm imagining like a Muppet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way, yeah, you
It's
can
like-
make it fun.
You get to clean the pipes with Grover.
Near. Far.
And I thought this topic of the Chinese landing on the dark side of the moon,
It was gonna be
I wouldn't
lame.
have enough to talk about. But it turns out we've made it work, Ryan. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm very proud. No, anyways, yes, back to China. And I believe this is the second time they did it. Back in 2019, they landed a rover on the dark side, but this is a bigger deal because they're able to do a lot more with this one. Missions to the far side of the moon have been rare, with the near side much easier to reach and explore thus far. China is the only country to achieve a soft landing on the far side of the moon. NASA's Ranger 4 was the first spacecraft to touch down on the far side of the moon in 1962. And this is when we found the mummified corpses inside of the pyramid and the structures on that side of the moon.
Allegedly.
I just made that up.
Yeah.
I just made that. But actually, I didn't make it up. I did read that, but I don't know if it's true. But this was a crash landing, and it failed to send any data back to Earth. I didn't even know about that. So we just kind of crashed, like, well, we tried. Well, now it's dead.
Does it count as like it happening then? If we just like, yep, done.
It's more like we just kind of dropped.
Well, it's like it's the
a
scene
lander
in The
there, like-
Crow, right at the very end, where the bad guy's like, "Go, bang, fuck, you're dead." All right.
This is CNSA's second lunar landing. Yep, I was right, on the moon's far side. In January 2019, the Chang...
I'm glad you were right, because I hate it when you just start talking shit that I don't know, because I'm like, oh man, if he's wrong, I'm gonna look crazy. I don't want to look crazy. No, I'm kidding.
Or I'm just gonna look dumb. It's okay. And then the flip side of that coin.
You're right. It's more like I just get a superiority complex being able to correct you. So if I don't know the facts, I get nervous.
We pretty like we have things, ladies and gentlemen. We have things. Joe sets up a really great thing for this podcast, but at the same time, we like to wing it. So every now and then, yeah, I might be wrong. In January of 2019. That was when they had done it last time. Like I said, the Chang 4 mission deposited a lander rover combo to the hidden lunar hemisphere.
Yeah.
Try to say that a bunch of times fast. Humanity's first glimpse of this elusive hemisphere of the moon came in 1959, thanks to a grainy view from the former Soviet Union's Lunar 3 spacecraft. Then in 1968, as part of the Apollo 8 moon orbiting mission, astronaut William Anders delivered incredible footage of the lunar far side to Earth. And that is really cool to watch. The Apollo 8 crew members were the first people to set eyes on a lunar region without the aid of any optical devices. I don't know what you're smiling and you're like making me smile. And I'm like, what are you about to say?
Because I kept thinking of like, what if there's this giant like Grand Canyon in the back of the dark side of the moon, and then when it's finally revealed, it just looks like two giant ass cheeks.
I was gonna say the moon's butt crack.
Yes. And because it started where I was like, the moon's gonna moon us, right? It's like you can't turn it around or see the dark side, you're gonna see its ass. But what if that was real? What if there was giant mountain ranges and just gorges in just the right place, and we finally see those pictures and it's just a shapely bum?
Why does it sounds like a Ren and Stimpy gag?
Oh my
Like
God.
everything had a butt.
It is entirely possible that that was in something when I was a child and I just pulling it out of my memory, but that is the funniest image I had in my life.
Right.
All right. I'm sorry. It's just you were reading
No,
and
and
that's
you were just-
all I could think about. I was
Well,
laughing.
I see you just like holding back from trying not to laugh, and I'm like, oh my! And so I'm trying not to laugh because I know you're about to make me laugh.
I hope it
podcasting.
was worth it, right?
It was.
Excellent.
Well, you just cracked. I'm just
Can I
could not-
crack you up?
You cracked me up.
That's a butt joke.
That is a butt joke. This is a poop song.
This is a poop song.
We
That's
pooped
a
at the
mall today.
You're a little flat.
Yeah. Well done, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right, that was the Sarah Silverman show, which was early 2000s, I believe, comedy show on Comedy Central. It had 3 seasons, but the point is that was a really obscure reference, Ryan.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Well, you know me. If it has a song, I'm probably gonna remember
that's
it.
what you remember. Yeah.
Like comedy with music to me is it really sticks with me. So the Chang 6 mission is already shedding light on a mysterious region of Earth's familiar lunar companion. And from Earthling Entertainment to China, way to go on this one. That's really cool. And like I said, it's a big deal because we just can't do it. We tried. Obviously, it was a long ass time ago, like back in the 60s. We just kind of went meh.
Hey Ryan, if we went to space, you would be my lunar companion. All right, so that was our new segment, space stuff. I don't think we did a great job.
I think we did a perfectly great job.
I
We
think
just
that was a
happened to
little-
ramble a bit.
Let's say unfocused. It was an unfocused job.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with this. That was our first time doing space stuff.
Science.
For science. For science, we were goofy as shit.
For science.
For science.
But all right, guys, that brings us to our next segment.
Earthling Entertainment headlines.
Video game news. Silent Hill 2 remake releases on October 8th. Video game developers realize the inherent value of revisiting titles buried deep within their catalogs. And one such
'Cause money.
money grail has been on the radars of survival horror enthusiasts for a few years now is Konami's Silent Hill 2 remake.
It's true. Silent Hill is a big deal. They even made 2 movies about Silent Hill. They were not bad. I really liked them.
The first one was good. I
They
liked the first one.
The first one was better than the second for sure, but they were both pretty good. They're unfairly compared to the Resident Evil movies, but the difference is these, while still very different than the games, were much closer to the games.
I'll agree with that. With Resident Evil especially, like that went off on a crazy weird tangent.
Sure, but the newest Resident Evil live action movie was called Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. And that one actually was pretty good. It was basically Resident Evil 2. It had its changes. It wasn't a complete adaptation, but it was them and the police station, and it was Claire Redfield and the whole 9 yards.
Cool. No, that's the classic. That's the N64 one. That's the one I remember.
Yeah, that's the good one. That's where you have to find the keys in the PlayStation. But anyways, this new, everyone's excited for this new Silent Hill game because I don't know, the images look pretty good. There's always people online who are a little bit scared of one thing or another. They're like, they're using this kind of system, so oh shit, I don't support it.
Yeah. Well, Silent Hill is petrifying. I've never played it. I've just seen it, clips of it being played, and I've watched the movies and stuff, and it's just like, it is a horrifying concept. It's a really good one. It's really original.
Well, they were really smart because they took the limitations of the original PlayStation, I believe it was. But anyways, the older systems, they took the limitations of not being able to load things very far, right? And what they did was they made this kind of like mist, this fog. So it would unveil things, which added to the creepiness as you walked around and the fog, cleared. But it also helped them because that was their loading.
And this was like what we talked about last week with the wood devils, where they stand still when you look at them. Like, wasn't that like the creatures in?
There's the nurses, I think. Did that, right? Yeah.
Petrifying. Announced during Sony's May 30th State of Play event, gamers were finally given something they've been long awaiting: a release date. On October 8th, 2024, all roads lead back to the town of Silent Hill, at least for PS5 and PC gamers. Developed by Bloober Team, the Layers of Fear series and 2019's Blair Witch game, the published by the IP's originators Konami, Silent 2, my goodness, I don't know why. Silent Hill 2 remake will pull players back into the fog-shrouded, rotting environs of the titular town. I love all the weird words this person likes to use in this article. Early details about the game's story seem to be largely unchanged from its previous iteration. When James Sunderland receives a letter from his wife Mary requesting to meet in Silent Hill, a letter delivered 3 years after Mary's death, the grief-stricken husband takes up the call. What follows is a psychological horror experience no other game developer had attempted to deliver previously. Even those who may have missed the original game's release in 2001 or the HD remaster in 2012's Silent Hill HD collection could instantly recognize one of the most familiar characters, the Bubblehead Nurse. So that's what they call it.
Yeah, that's the bobblehead nurse. Because it
Oh.
does that weird, like, twitchy head movement.
Oh, okay.
I know. I mean, that's what I always called it. I think what they said is the correct thing. I just, in my head, it's the bobblehead.
Yeah, no idea. Yeah, like I said, I've only seen clips and stuff. The blood-soaked personification of Sunderland's sexual repression makes an appearance in the recently released trailer,
Yeah, those creepy nurses.
which means that the badass with a big sword, Pyramid Head, isn't far behind.
Yes, Pyramid Head. I love seeing him at Comic-Cons, man. Though people commit if they go as that guy because it is such an uncomfortable costume.
Yeah, it doesn't look fun. And they're dragging like this giant sword.
I mean, even out of foam, that thing's got to weigh some weight.
Well, yeah, and it's just a pain in the butt at a Comic-Con to be carrying anything that big, that shoulder to shoulder.
It's true. I've seen some really people who commit, though.
Oh, for sure. No, we saw a ton. Silent Hill 2 remake is now available for pre-order in both digital and physical editions.
Yes. I like Silent Hill. You know, I did. I don't know if I'll play it again because it's just another one of the remakes. And we talked about it before how we played the Resident Evil remakes, at least a couple of them. And they're good, don't misunderstand. But at the end of the day, even with the changes that are made, you're playing a game that you've already played. And it takes a certain kind of game to get me. And I don't know if this Silent Hill 2 is that game, but hey, if you're a horror fan and you love this game, there's nothing wrong with revisiting the classics, and without plugging in an old system and having it actually physically on disc. It's your best opportunity.
I'm kind of shocked that Nintendo hasn't really tried to do that, like redo old games but do it new.
Well, they just re-release their old games as like an emulator, right? Like you could just buy their
Right.
old games back compatible,
But-
download on their.
But they don't like redo them. You know what I mean? They don't like this. Like they're not like completely from the ground up
That's-
redoing it. Yeah.
That's true, but they just make the sequels to their staples, right? Like
Right.
otherwise, like you're talking pure Nintendo games, right? Like made by Nintendo. What is it? It's Mario, it's Donkey Kong, it's Zelda. You got
Yeah.
those. But when it comes to a lot of these other games, they're from other companies, right?
hmm
So Nintendo is constantly making sequels. So what would they remake?
I always
They'd have to find some old IP they did for like the original Nintendo.
I would just say that I could see them doing like Ocarina of Time, like on like the same kind of skin as like Breath of the Wild, you know?
Didn't they do an HD remaster of Ocarina of Time?
I don't know if they did a remaster,
I
but
remember
I know they just always.
playing it when they redid it and I played it. I don't know what it was on.
I know that they've
DS,
re-released
that's
it,
what it was. They re-released it on DS,
Yeah,
the handheld game.
but it was the
system.
same old game.
It was.
Yep,
Yeah. You're
which is
talking.
fine, which is a classic. But I mean, I've beaten it a million times, but I would totally play it if they were to like redo it and like
Fair enough.
all new.
Well, if it was like Final Fantasy VII, that is like a new game. Like it is they follow the story loosely, but they're doing their own thing. So it depends on how much you were talking about that though. Like where they remake a game where they add to it, they change things, they improve things, whatever.
Well, yeah, like I said, if they made it like Breath of the Wild, dude, they could make that game so fun.
They probably could. Well, you know what else is fun is revisiting old properties. I get that. And speaking of remakes and doing sequels, Warner Brothers announced 2 more Lord of the Rings movies. They're only talking about one right now. It's obviously the Hunt for Gollum. And that's the big story now. Warner Brothers is doing another Lord of the Rings. And here's what Viggo Mortensen had to say.
The Lord of the Rings, star Viggo Mortensen, open to returning as Aragorns in The Hunt for Gollum.
Thank you, Smeagol. Thank you. Have a good one. Here's your fish.
The Lord of the Rings star Viggo Mortensen is open to returning as Aragorn in upcoming live-action film The Hunt for Gollum, if it makes sense for him and the character, which I agree with. Speaking to GQ, where he also revealed he used a sword from The Lord of the Rings in his latest film, The Dead Don't Hurt. Mortensen said he enjoys playing Aragorn and learned a lot from his work on Peter Jackson's beloved trilogy. When asked if he'd return for The Hunt for Gollum, which is the first of 2 confirmed live-action films announced in May of 2024, the 65-year-old Mortensen said,
God, he's 65. That's so weird.
yeah, I didn't know that either, said it would need to align with him being older than he was 2 decades old trilogy.
$5 says that they're talking, well, we could de-age him.
I'm sure they mentioned that to him, but I don't think he'd want to do... well, I mean, who knows? Money talks. Sure, he said plainly. I don't know exactly what the story is. I haven't heard. Maybe I'll hear about it eventually. I like playing that character. I learned a lot playing the character. I enjoyed it a lot. I would only do it if it was right for it in terms of, the age I am now and so forth. I would only do it if I was right for the character. It would be silly to do it otherwise.
See, that's a respect for the IP.
I like that.
You know how you very easily do this, though? Very easily. You have Viggo Mortensen as an old man who he is now telling the story to either his son or grandson of The Hunt for Gollum.
100%.
And then you cast a younger actor to play Mortensen.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's
how you get him back. Very easy, guys. And you pretty much did that with the Hobbit movies because you had Bilbo or Ian McShane. I don't remember. The older gentleman who played old Bilbo in the original. You had him as the framing device in the Hobbit trilogy.
right.
So just do that again.
No, 100%, and it worked perfect, and no one, they were very successful. So that's exactly what they should do. You solved it.
Yeah, solved it. We don't even need to read the rest of the article. We're
Nope,
good.
done.
Yeah, moving on. Anyways, here's the rest of the article.
Whether or not it will make sense for an older Aragorn to appear, like Joe said, remains to be seen. But since the film will feature Gollum, who, spoilers, died in the final Lord of the Rings film.
It's okay. The books have been out since like the 40s, but spoilers.
Right. It will presumably be a prequel, unless Warner Brothers Discovery mimics Star Wars and opens the film with, somehow, Gollum returned.
I'll buy that for $1.
The precious does things people find to be unnaturals.
Is that not where you
I don't
were
know why you
is
cat
that-
called me.
Is that not where you were going with that?
No, you cat called Gollum, and it's a little weird.
No, it isn't.
Gollum, okay, you're right, because Andy Serkis is Fox.
Oh,
Gollum actor Andy
I was wondering how
Serkis
far I'd have to make that joke work. Thank you for bailing me out. Continue.
is returning to star and direct the film. Ooh, he's directing.
Yeah.
With Jackson on as producer alongside Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens. Little else is known about the film, seemingly on the creator side too. But it will seemingly be the first of many, as Warner Brothers is hard at work fixing what it called a largely underused franchise.
In other words, David Zaslav, the new head of Warner Brothers since Discovery bought them, is like, money? Money!
Money!
Money! Money!
Like, dude.
I mean,
you have a point.
The Hunt for Golem is a totally fine story. Honestly, if you want to make any Lord of the Rings movies in that era's, I love fantasy films, and those were really good. And if Peter Jackson's behind it, we got the same kind of Weta kind of images and music that we had last time. You find some foxy Irish singer to make some really elven sounding music. I'm down.
Foxy.
Oh man, returning to roles. I mean, how do you feel about that? He's Viggo Mortensen's like, I don't want him to probably don't want to be DH. Other people are still in the age bracket that they were and can return to those franchises. Ian McKellen would probably return if he could. Just saying.
I
But
think you would.
It brings us to Bill Skarsgård.
It does bring us to Bill Skarsgård.
He's-
And how, you might ask?
Well, remember that show, Welcome to Derry, the prequel to It?
Nope.
Well, it's here. And it's not here. It's being made. And long story short, prequel to It, he's coming back. He's playing the creature again. I'm excited.
Bill Skarsgård to return as Pennywise on It prequel series Welcome to Derry.
Welcome to Derry.
Bill Skarsgård isn't done clowning around. The Swedish actor will reprise his role as Pennywise, the demonic clown from the horror films It and It Chapter 2 on the Max prequel series Welcome to Derry, Entertainment Weekly has learned. He'll also serve as an executive producer on the show.
That makes sense.
Welcome to Derry, a working title, was announced in February of 2023, and like the It movies, will be based on the Stephen King's 1986 novel about a group of children who are terrorized by a sinister entity that most often takes the form of a freaky clown.
Num 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 children.
Director Andy Muschietti.
Actually, that was pretty good. I was prepared to correct you, but no, it's Muschietti.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Who helmed both films, developed the project for TV. King previously said in his statement, "I'm excited that the story of Derry, Maine's most haunted city, is continuing, and I'm glad Andy Muschietti is going to be overseeing the frightening festivities, along with a brain trust, including his talented sister, Barbara."
I always like that. The brain trust.
Right. Red balloons all around, he
Red
said.
balloons.
The Muschietti siblings added, "As teenagers, we took turns reading chapters of Stephen King's It until the thick paperback fell to pieces. It is an epic story that contains multitudes far beyond what we could explore in our It movies. We can't wait to share the depths of Steve's novel in all its heart, humor, humanity, and horror." Emphasis on the word horror.
All right, so a lot of things in that book weren't in the movies. They talk about how it is essentially I don't want to put words in their mouth, but they allude to the fact that he's kind of like a space spider, and like he's kind of like the antithesis of God, and God is a flying space turtle. Well, not really God. It's a creature that puked out the universe, and when the space turtle puked out the universe, there was it also created it, or it was the antithesis of this flying turtle. I don't remember, but all of this shit is real. And if you don't talk about the space turtle in this fucking show, you have failed. You have failed as a fucking artist. I'm talking to you, Muschietti.
Like, Stephen King's gotta
Hashtag
have...
Don't be a coward.
I feel like Stephen King's life is just wild. Like, every day he must just have to be, like, dealing with people pitching shows and movies about his stuff, because, like, no one's, like, for some reason, Hollywood doesn't want to write anything new, so they're just grabbing at anything that exists. And, like, he probably gets asked, like, he probably has, like, multiple requests.
Well, not just that, but he may releases books of all his short stories, and all those get turned into things. Like the new movie that
The
came out
Mist
about a year.
was a short story.
Yeah, and that was actually a novella, so that was a little different. But Boogeyman, that new movie that came out,
Okay.
that was a short story that was based on like a very short story, and they just kind of made up most of the movie and just used a character from that short story.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me, because he's had so many renditions from his work, and it just seems to be a thing that everybody probably wants to do. Like,
And you're right. I know what you were saying earlier, where he's like, you bet he has a bunch of requests.
like every day.
Every day. Yeah, you're probably. I mean, that's why you have insistence and stuff. Like he probably has a whole system that like vets these requests, right?
Mhm.
You know, you have to. I don't know, but they're like, what studio is it from, and like, you know, who's doing it? Is this what do they want, and all that stuff. And then you have to have lawyers being like, well, you have a contract with Universal for X amount of years for this property, so
Yeah.
only that company can do that. You know what I mean? Just, whoo, business.
Business.
Anyways, that would be a good business to be in. I love Stephen King. I literally have a copy of every single Stephen King novel that's been printed. I don't have short stories and stuff that were in magazines. That's going a little too far. And there's one book called Rage, which were one of the Bachman books. So that one was written under Richard Bachman. That paperback is worth like thousands of dollars, like $10,000, $9,000. So I don't have that one.
Yeah, Stephen King's always been a big part of my life. My dad was a big fan, and I remember his bookshelf. He had like every single Stephen King book there ever was, and so it was always a big part of my life. Sometimes he would play like an audio book in the car on a long trip. I remember,
Ooh, saucy.
and I remember, I want to say it was 6th or 7th grade, middle school. I did a book report on Pet Cemetery, and that book scared the shit out of me.
Pet Cemetery?
Yeah, I read that like in middle school. It scared the crap out of me.
You know, I think the last one I read was, and that actually scared me, Tommy Knockers. I never read that one until recently. And that didn't, actually, you know what, I take it back. It didn't scare me. It had creepy and gross, like, parts.
Yeah, the show was awful. I remember they like tried to do a TV show miniseries adaptation like back in the early 90s, I want to say it was. And I remember my dad saying it was awful.
Well, they absolutely did do one.
I watched some of it, but yeah.
I recently tried to watch the first episode and then was like, you know what? I'm going to read the book first. And then I went through the whole book, and then comparing that to just the first half, I was like, okay, well, there's no way you can do like any of the story because you just covered like 5 pages of like 4,500.
Yeah, I remember there like being people in weird vats. Like
well, that's
weird
in the
neon
books.
green vats.
Yeah, that's in the books.
And I remember like the girl, like I remember because they overplayed it for the trailer, you know, over and over as a commercial, like the "Oh, Tommy knockers knocking at the door," like the girl like sitting there, yeah, doing that. That's all I remember.
Well, long story short, spoiler for the Tommy Knockers. A spaceship is found buried underground, and this woman finds it and she starts unburying it, and then she is compelled to continue unburying it and share the unburying with people, and then everyone starts feeling weird and awkward, and they all start what Stephen King calls becoming, and they all start becoming psychic, and they're all unburying it. And it turns out it's kind of like the ship is psychically altering these people into a version of the alien species who originally created the ship, and they are becoming kind of hive mindy, and it's the adventure. It's a really wild fucking book.
It's like what's the one character from Rick and Morty that assimilates everybody?
Unity.
Yeah, his girlfriend or his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. I have no way to continue.
I have no way to continue either, but I mean,
what?
I was just gonna say, good for them. Good for them doing the being able to continue it.
I know,
because I know he really likes playing that part. I'm a fan of it. He did a great job. I thought the It movies were great. I thought they were great. It's just I didn't think they were scary. That was just me.
Well, fair enough. It's not the imagery that scares you. There were parts that scared me, but I didn't think it was overall scary, but I was very familiar with the source material.
He would just shake his head and run towards the camera. That was literally his move in every single time. Shake his head and run at the camera.
It's called a jump scare, right?
I know, but it didn't jump enough. It was just coming up.
I feel like you're slowly like unveiling like the fact that you just straight up didn't like those movies.
I did. I liked them. It's like the kids were great. The kids were hilarious. Like all of that was hilarious. I thought he looked great as it. I just think that they didn't nail. They should have done something like the one jump scare that got me was him eating the little girl. Spoiler alert! Underneath the bleachers. That definitely got me.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, bud. If you want to get watch the Tim Curry one. That one
was scarier.
No, it wasn't.
To me, it was. I guess it's just like a nostalgia thing.
Yeah, I think it was a nostalgia thing. Anyway, I don't know. It's like when filmmakers want to continue something, and it's like it's this new thing where they're like, we're going to do a show. You know, we have Seth MacFarlane who had the 2 Ted movies, and he made a show, very successful. They're doing a season 2. Very happy about that on Peacock. But you know, other people are doing it too. Do you know Zak Snyder is making a TV show of one of his original films, the one that blew him up. Excuse me.
No.
Yeah, it's 300.
Warner Brothers developing a 300 TV series with Zack Snyder.
Ho ho!
The legend.
Joe, king of segways.
Yes, he is. The legend of the 300 Spartans is one of the most thrilling in all of ancient Greece.
Fucking thrilling.
A small army against 1 billion guys. How about it?
one midget? his name was Smallus, but Maximus, and he had a sword and a mace. I'm sorry. I wanted to really run with that. I got nothing.
He couldn't lift his shield, so he couldn't join the ranks. Same as that other guy.
I kind of dug myself a hole originally because that was the character I was talking about, and I couldn't think of what to say, and my brain was just like midget, and it's like, no, it wasn't a midget. He was deformed. He was
He was a hunchback.
A hunchback, a mongoloid. I don't know the proper name. There is one. So I kind of buried myself right off the back of that joke.
Yeah,
I tried to make it work, but
he would have been discarded as a baby, but his mother, he said, because of his mother's love, she ran away with him and basically raised him, on their own outside of society.
Yes, I remember the movie, right?
Yes. No, I love that movie. Yes, I'm sorry.
So are you excited about this possible show?
I'll give it a shot. I love the original so much. Like, I didn't even care for the sequel, honestly.
I like the sequel.
I mean, we got some boobies in it, which is always nice, but
I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, I am, so I understand, but
just saying it was an intense negotiation scene. Like, that's all it was, right? Like, they were like just totally fucking like while negotiating the war. Like, it was pretty amazing. Just saying, that's badass.
It was okay. So I saw one other one like that. There was a film called Shoot Me Up, and he is sleeping with this girl. They're boning all over the place. They're off the bed.
Shoot him up.
And he was fighting. He was shooting guns, and like guys are breaking in the room, and they're both just like shooting guns while having sex.
Dude, I must say
that was fine art. I might
to all of our listeners, if you have not seen Shoot 'em Up, you need to see that movie. It's so over the top.
It's
action.
It's Clive Owen in an action film.
It's like a tongue-in-cheek action. Like, it's so over the top that it's funny. It's unreal.
Surprising no one talks about that film, really.
It came out like right around the time of 300, of Sin City. It was because he was in Sin City. I think that's like kind of why it was kind of like a side film that was done in that style of over the top action where it's like unbelievable.
It was 2007 it came out.
Right.
It's a good, nice movie. It's an hour and 26 minutes, very compact. Just saying, hey, if we're going to pitch this movie, we're pitching this movie. Paul Giamatti's in it. It's good stuff.
Every time I use a turn signal, I think about that scene when he's pissed off and he's just like, I moved my finger
a quarter of
an inch. Just, dude, and he just runs this car off the road. Like, it is a good movie. You need to see it if you haven't.
And if you get road rage, it's cathartic.
Completely. So back to, sorry.
Just start this article over. It's like 2 sentences.
Right. But no, he was just like doing like, the legend of the 300 Spartans is coming back. Several movies have featured the story, but the 2006 version from Zak Snyder is very probably the one that will live on in people's memories forever. The film, an adaptation of Frank Miller and Lynn Varley's graphic novel, effectively put Snyder on the map and led to his long career of comic book adaptations. Makes perfect sense then that Warner Brothers Television would bring Snyder in for a television series adaptation. According to Variety, Snyder and his producing partner and life partner, Deborah Snyder, will executive produce the project, with Zak taking on directing duties.
Duties.
Duty.
Sorry.
Other info is...
I didn't have a time to chime in earlier, so...
Other info is sparse. And no writers or cast are on board yet. It's likely an exciting prospect for fans of Snyder's directing style to get a full series of his speed-ramping action.
Yeah, they say full series, but let's be honest. If it's like 6 or 8 episodes and it's like, well, you just kind of made a 3-hour movie and cut it up. So I don't know. What are we doing? Are we just remaking 300 as a movie? Are we doing a side story? Like, it really depends on what they're doing. Like, if we're just straight up doing the movie over again and making it longer, I hope there's more material in that comic book or wherever they're getting, and they're not just like, oh man, how do we just kind of spread this out?
Yeah, no, we'll see. You know how I feel about series. I feel like a lot of them do fall into that category where they have like one decent idea and they just stretch it. I don't know.
A
We'll
lot
see.
of filler.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Heck, even I'm totally like open book here. Like I even think the same about a lot of Star Wars. I think a lot of it gets a little bit dragged on.
Well, okay, so fair enough, but back to the 300, I honestly thought the movie dragged a little bit. I don't know if I need it spread out.
And that is true. I mean, they did it as action packed as they could while telling, the story. They did a great job with yeah, I still watch it every now and then.
I know you do.
I quote that movie all the time.
This is Sparta.
I love
like that was so overdone in pop culture for like years after that movie came out.
I loved his horrible corny lines. Give them nothing, but take from them everything.
Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler.
I don't know. I thought that was a cool movie. There's a lot of cool movies coming out, and this new one is it's got one of our favorite cryptids in it. So I'm on board for that. And here we go.
Warner Brothers is developing a 300 TV series with Zak Snyder. So that we got the wrong title here. My bad.
That's hilarious. I was like, what? I know.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I was gonna say we just did that. Okay, we'll just start here. A Town Called Purgatory is a Skinwalker movie we've been waiting for.
That is actually the title. So
okay, yep. Sorry.
So start over, right? Ready, go.
Ron Burgundy reads everything on the prompter. A Town Called Purgatory is the Skinwalker movie we've been waiting for.
Now, if you had done that originally, that segue would have worked great.
Having won 2 Fest Awards, the movie is set for another screening in California. The creators of the horror western A Town Called Purgatory are promoting their next showing at Monsterpalooza in Pasadena, California.
Noise.
Directed by Matt Servito and scripted by Dan DeLuca from a story by Ken Arnold, the film was produced by and co-stars the trio who previously teamed on the award-winning The Night Watchman.
Nice.
A Town Called Purgatory took Best Feature Film prizes at both the Garden State Film Festival and the Creature Feature Weekend Film Festival.
Which is great, because if it keeps doing that, it'll definitely get distribution. And that's what we want, because that's the only way we're going to see it.
Good. The synopsis: in the haunting aftermath of the Civil War, principled Yankee lawman Bew Riffin Arnold, which is played by Arnold, joins forces with Cody Parnham, who's played by DeLuca, a tormented ex-Confederate tracker. Their quest to apprehend notorious train robbers leads them to Purgatory, a town eerily deserted. Amidst the silence, they cross paths with a lone African-American trapper and a prisoner harboring secrets who whispers of an ancient menace. As the shadows of Purgatory tighten, an impending confrontation with the Skinwalker beckons, testing bonds of trust and humanity in their gripping fight for survival. Keep a sharp eye out for this film when it inevitably releases on VOD. But here's hoping they get a theatrical run first, and with this kind of hype, it's possible.
It is. It is. I don't know. I love this. I haven't seen too many movies about the Skinwalker. It is a Native American kind of shapeshifter creature. Kind of. Sometimes it looks like a Wendigo. In the picture, it looks like the one that they released. It's got like a human skull and kind of antlers, and it looks very humanoid. So you think it's a guy in a suit, but I love the way it looks. It does follow what a Skinwalker claims to be.
It's got the antlers, like you say. Yeah, it looks like a Wendigo.
So very cool on that.
I agree. That's one of our favorite cryptids here on the show. We've talked about them before, and I believe we mentioned them many times because
There's even that show like the Skinwalker Ranch, man.
Yeah.
Search at Skinwalker Ranch.
and all sorts of shit. Like everything happens there. Like Bigfoot's been seen there. UFOs,
UFOs.
interdimensional ghosts.
It's like I've heard someone describe it as it would be the Bermuda Triangle, but in on land. And it's not the only place that does that. There's this place in Mexico called the Zone of Silence where you can't get any signal and stuff. So they have weird spots, and this is definitely one of them, Skinwalker Ranch. And this Western, I would assume, takes place on that property, and that's kind of where we're going. The town called Purgatory.
Yes.
A town called, I don't know. I like the name. I would see it.
I totally want to watch it. I hope it does well.
I do too. And guys, that brings us to the end of the show. And thank you so much for listening. This is our 40th episode, and we just really appreciate everybody who's out there downloading the episodes, which of course is the best way to support the show. And yeah, so Ryan, you got anything?
Yes, thank you from us to you. Just make sure you're downloading wherever you listen to podcasts. If there's anything you want to talk about, want us to talk about, you got any questions, feel free to message us on Facebook. That's kind of the best way to get a hold of us. The email is earthlingentertainment@gmail.com as well.
Yep. So all of us from Earthling Entertainment, see ya.
Goodbye.